So thank you all so much for coming in. My name is Misha Bhatt and I am the Senior Vice President at iVolunteer. Thank you all for taking your time and joining us for this wonderful session today, where we are going to be learning a little bit more and discussing about creating robust, dynamic employee volunteering program. Before I go a little further as well, can I just have a show of hands? How many of you are from corporates? Any individual volunteers? No. The rest? NGOs? Okay. Great, thank you, great. Welcome everybody. As companies prioritize, social responsibilities, employee volunteering has also become a vital part of our strategy. However, creating effective programs can be quite challenging, as I think a lot of the corporates and the NGO partners know very well about it. Our program today, what we are going to be doing is, the session is going to be exploring strategies as to how you can design dynamic, impactful employee volunteering initiatives that will engage not only your employee volunteers, but also make an impact on the communities that you are there to serve. Our expert panelists will share insights on building sustainable, result-driven programs and discuss the opportunities and learn on how your organization can also make a meaningful difference. I'm going to keep it a little informal in the sense that, what I will be doing is I will definitely be introducing all our key panel speakers, having an introduction about them, a little bit more about their work. Then I'm going to request my key panel to all of them to speak for 2 to 3 minutes, give a broad overview of the work that they have been doing in terms of employee volunteering within their own corporates and the impact it has made on the communities very broadly. I do have a list of questions which I will then be posting to the panel. And as usual, most of you who are aware, there will be a QR code that will be shown up later. So you can, of course, please do add your questions as well. So this morning we have with us Ms. Vaidya. Ria is a Senior General Manager and the Global Lead for Corporate Communications and CSR at VFS Global. Ria is a seasoned communications and CSR professional with over 2 decades of expertise across diverse industries, including telecommunications, media, entertainment, and BFSI. She's also worked on shared services. She's held significant positions with global brands like Disney and Citigroup. She has spearheaded strategic communications campaigns both internally and externally, and including employer branding efforts, CSR endeavors, ESG reporting, as well as diversity and inclusion initiatives. Her extensive experience includes the development of comprehensive CSR, employee volunteering, and grant programs in collaboration with key stakeholders, including both program and non-governmental partners. Currently serving as the head of employee communications, employee branding, and CSR at VFS Global, Ria oversees these functions in over 145 plus countries. Very warm welcome to you, Ria. Next, we have with us Harish Kulkarni. Harish is the manager and CSR lead for the Global Employee Volunteering Program at Tata Communications. Harish has been leading their Global Employee Volunteering Program and digital transformation initiatives. He oversees new projects, manages stakeholders, and seeks to enhance their CSR ecosystem. He's also responsible for promoting the cross-team collaboration and upholding diversity and inclusion values. He has engaged over 12,000 employees, over 50 plus cities in 20 different countries. He holds a BCom from Vivekananda College and a Master's in Development Management from the Madras School of Social Work. Previously, he has worked on child development and education projects at SOS Children's Village and Karadi Path. He is a certified CSR professional with ICSI and enjoys bike rides and badminton in his free time. Very warm welcome to you, Harish. We also have with us this morning Ms. Sharmeen Kutky, who is the Community Impact Lead at UBS. Sharmeen has been with the bank since over 14 years and is responsible for managing the India Philanthropy Grant Portfolio in partnership with UBS Leadership, the India Philanthropy Forum, and the board across India. Sharmeen is also responsible to drive the employee engagement initiatives in India, which includes engaging staff in several hands-on community engagement programs and skill-based volunteering. Prior to her experience in philanthropy, Sharmeen has more than 13 years of experience in human resources. Very welcome to you, Sharmeen. So we have a fantastic panel with us here with loads of years of experience, and we worked very closely with all of them. So what we would like to do next is I'm going to request each of our panel members to give a brief overview of their work, post which I will be asking them a couple of questions, and of course, in the meantime, if you can write down or even note down your questions as well, I will be taking that out later on.
Okay. You want me to start with my organization's work?
Yes,
right?
Harish, if you can just talk a little bit, a broad overview of how does employee volunteering look like in Tata Communications. Plus, of course, you are the lead employee volunteering program for overall as well. So if you can just give us some insights, that would be good.
Sure, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and thanks to the VolCon team for inviting me. So at Tata Communications, I'll quickly touch upon a couple of points because I'm sure Misha will have other questions for us. So at Tata Communications, the volunteering now for the over 5-6 years we have been doing, and it's been structured. It's all set, so we don't have to struggle back for getting volunteers. That's still a little bit of component, but we are all set in terms of volunteering, and we get about 80-85% of our employees volunteering, which is close to 14,000 employees across the globe now. And for this year, we had already reached the numbers that we wanted to in the month of December itself, and we didn't do our March campaign. So we have structured campaign, which are short-term, long-term, and also skill-based. I'll talk about short-term and the long-term quickly. So short-term are one of which almost all the organizations follow. We do it in quarter. Apart from that, one exclusive thing that we do is basically called TCMP, which is Tata Communications Mentorship Program. So here what we do is we ensure to collaborate with our own CSR project partners. So we have about 15-16 partners across India at different locations. We do have a dedicated volunteering program along with which is aligned to a CSR project, and set of 40 to 50 employees are aligned to each of the CSR projects, and they also get to know what we are doing in CSR, just not the volunteering bit, but they travel with the CSR team for about 6 months to understand what CSR is, what we do with CSR, and also be part of the program. So there are multiple levels of it. For some programs we'll have just the training of students. In one of the program we had the training of the NGO partners itself, so staff members will be trained on different aspects. So there are similar patterns that we followed for multiple projects that we are doing. And one initiative that we have pipelined for the coming year is called as which is basically beyond boardrooms, where we want to take our leadership team to the remotest locations where we are doing a CSR project, and make them stay for about a week's time and be part of the volunteering initiative. So they'll be involving in the volunteering initiative for a week's time in the remotest locations like Tura in Meghalaya, in Jharkhand, in Bihar. So we wanted to explore this, which has been in pipeline, and we will be launching it in the month of April. So that's largely about our volunteering.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Having and taking your senior leadership out for 1 week and getting them to actually go and volunteer within the communities in remote locations, I'm sure it's not an easy task. To get their time, and then for them to agree to even go to Jharkhand and places like this. So we would love to know a little bit more as to how you go about it. But for now, Ria, if I may ask you to please share some overview about volunteering at VFS Global.
Hi, good morning everybody. Nice to see you all. A bit about VFS Global. The employee volunteering program for us is at a very nascent stage. We actually launched the employee volunteering program in the end of 2019, and because of the pandemic we had to roll back a lot of things that we had in the roadmap in 2020. So if you ask me what really is the age of our program, I will say 2 years, right? So it's very new for our employees, and we are trying our best to not intimidate our people by bringing in a lot of efforts or by bringing in a lot of programs for them to participate. Right now, if you look at it, our programs are only structured to engage them for a very short while, mostly event-based, like the cleanup drive that we do or some of the giving opportunities that we have introduced to. Of course, 145 countries, but we are not focusing on all the countries. What we've done is aligned it with the people strategy to look at where we have majority of workforce in specific countries, in specific regions. And then we work and partner with our HR business partners there or the operations leads to ensure that we have some activities which are lined up and which are aligned again with the employee engagement bit in that particular country. So that's how we're taking baby steps at the moment, but the idea is from 24 onwards to maybe take a leap to bring them on to skill based or a little bit of a long-term volunteering like what Harish said. I don't see our management going out for a week at this point in time. Definitely no. But yes, that's the objective. We want to reach there at the stage. But right now, it's all aligned with the culture strategy and the people strategy to see that we are all working towards one common goal. And yes, I'm sure we'll reach there in the next couple of years.
As to how to make employee volunteering successful, how often do we need to align it with our other strategies, whether it's a people strategy or it's a CSR strategy? And throughout the discussion, we hope to explore more on that. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sharmeen, if you can share some insights on UBS with.
I think at UBS we have a clear strategy which focuses in employee volunteering, which is teaching for children and youth. Digital and green. Digital being that we have a large technology presence in our offices in Pune and Hyderabad, and we like to leverage our resources in tech to deliver various programs, develop apps and improve learning outcomes for children and youth. Green is of course with a focus on environment. A simple thing like I think planting a tree is something that can bring teams together and encourage a green and a better environment. And there is a hands-on volunteering, a one-time short-term volunteering as well as a long-term volunteering, which is like a capacity build. Not taken our senior MDs to Jharkhand, but yes, I think we have done capacity build for our non-profits. It's called a community connection program, wherein we have at least 20 to 25 odd MDs, Ds participating in very specific requirements that come from our non-profit partners, whether it is HR strategy or a compliance requirement, finance strategy or monitoring and evaluation that can be automated for them. And that's worked really nicely for us with our leaders, wherein they also get an opportunity to do something outside of their jobs. And I think the largest impact here for us is that we've had employees come with requirements of what we should do. I think there's this huge interest and enthusiasm where staff come and say, can we do this? And I think that's been an advantage for us, where we are able to design something with our staff which is of interest for them, and also identifying the need with our non-profit partners, and that partnership has worked really well for us at the moment. We achieve around 40% volunteering across our locations, which is in Pune, Bombay, Hyderabad, and that's been really a great success for us.
Thank you so much, Sharmeen. Having 40% volunteering numbers across all three of your locations, I think that's fantastic.
Yes.
And also, I've always loved about UBS is how, like many other companies, but corporates, like they're walking the talk. So right from your senior most person, I have seen them on ground volunteering, along with their employees. And I think it's a great way of team building as well.
Yes, yes indeed.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your insights. So when we're talking about employee volunteering, one thing I would like to ask the panel first is, as CSR professionals or lead who are, individually we are all very passionate about volunteering, but one of the biggest challenges that we often see is how do you transfer this kind of passion into your volunteers, into your employees, and how do you get a buy-in from your other leaders? So this is a question that I would like to open to the panel. So how do you encourage volunteering within your own organizations and face some of these challenges?
So for Tata Communications, it's been because of the group which has its own culture and stuff inside the company and inside the organization, it becomes slightly easier because from even if there is a change in the senior management, they are from the Tata group and they would have been part of some engagement in the past, and the buy-in is slightly easier here for us. But given said that, it's not as easy as how we are saying now, but when there is a change in the management or when there is a new CEO coming in, it takes slightly a longer time to prove yourself or prove that the CSR is doing something for the community and for the organization to build branding and all. Being again a comms company, being not a manufacturing unit, it is much more, I think all of us here will have much more struggle in terms of using our work as a branding part because it becomes slightly difficult for us. To get in, again, coming back to the point on getting leadership buy-in, for us, since we have our own, the leaders coming and participating themselves, then it becomes easier for us to crack that bit much more easier. And the second bit is that we do have something called, I'll quickly talk about it, something called Waves, which is an internal leadership training program for the employees. So whoever is interested, what we do is once in a year we offer this program. It's also aligned with the HR. So what we do is we also give them learning credits if they are part of the program. It's exclusively for volunteering, where we build volunteer leaders. So whoever is interested in each year we will have about 150 to 200 employees who are joining this program across the globe, and we will have in-person training for them. There will be hybrid mode of virtual and in-person. They will be part of the program for 3 months, where you will have junior executive to a GM or VP coming in and being together in the program. Here we will talk more about how do you interact with leaders, how do you communicate with leaders. For example, if a junior executive will have to walk into a VP cabin and ask his team to participate, how do he do that? So there are multiple levels of training that happens in this program, which has helped us to gain more number of volunteer leaders, build more number of strong volunteer leaders across the globe. So now I would say in the last 4 years, we would have easily built about 1,200 volunteer leaders, so which is closely 10% of our overall employee strength. So they are now leading the volunteering initiatives for us. So that becomes much more easier for us to convince. And also when it adds to your learning credits, of course their managers will allow them to be part of it because they're learning something interesting and
Absolutely.
new. So that's one of the maybe unique point for us.
Fantastic. I love the fact that, how through kind of combining it with learning credits and to get 1,200 employees as your volunteer champions. So, it's like you have literally moved your passion and all into these 1,200 people, and they can go to, in a way speaking, 1,200 different locations and make an impact. So that's brilliant, brilliant. And we'll talk more about that, and I'm sure I'm going to have more questions from the audience as well on this. Ria, if I may ask you, because since you mentioned that this is fairly new, employee volunteering, it's just been over 2 years. But having worked with VFS closely, we see that the range of opportunities and how we are trying to slowly encourage and mobilize volunteers in other locations across India as well. Would you like to emphasize or talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think one point that I adore in the Gen Z or millennials is that they want to have an encompassing life. They're not just restricted to this 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 sort of a work life, but they want to do more. There's a lot of energy which they bring in, and they want to make a change there. So for us, the important job is to channelize the energy and to ensure that they are given a platform, to work and do something which they are proud of. They feel that they have achieved something toward the end of the day. So that's what we are trying to do. Communications do play an important role here, Misha. Okay, so what we are trying to do is not building a formal R&R, but actually trying to see how do we leverage the particular employees who are volunteering to showcase their stories in a way that encourages others to volunteer. Right? We will come to a stage where we will have to build that formal R&R in a way to kind of give more opportunities. But that's the strategy that we are taking right now.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing those insights.
I think I just want to add that honestly the volunteering comes as a driver even from the leaders. As Misha mentioned, she's interacted with some of our leaders on volunteering as well. So they show up, they encourage, and there is this huge need for us to create opportunities as a function and leverage what we can do to bring teams together. So I think it just is completely a driver also where Harish spoke about the DNA, the culture of people. I think that's important, and that's the culture we are driving, that people participate and contribute to the communities we are working for and in. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. So this is all really nice to know, and involving senior management. Some fantastic strategies and tips out here in having maybe a training session, aligning it with their key learning outcomes so that they are getting points. Ensuring that the top management is present, which of course has a trickle-down impact as well. While we are discussing all of this, we know that the reality is not that easy, right? It's not a rosy picture. It's filled with challenges. And that's what I would love to hear from you all. What has been the challenge? So you might have had a vision, but to go there, I'm sure it was not so easy. So you had a buy-in, but also there might have been some other challenges, business challenges and all. So if you would like to share those with us.
I think designing the right program, right, that resonates with your staff. When you are asking them to engage in the work you're doing, they need to kind of relate to that program. So that is definitely one piece that we need to constantly innovate the opportunities that we are providing to our staff. There has to definitely be a partnership with our non-profits, wherein they also see a clear need where it's not just a financial support, but we are doing much more than that for them, which is providing our skills, our competencies to contribute here. And I think thirdly is really bringing people out of their desks and their day jobs. One is the enthusiasm of the younger population, but I think the day job definitely pulls you back. There are your day deliverables and how do we get people out of their desks. So that definitely is going to be a challenge, but given all of that, we've been able to still succeed. We've been able to have programs of different opportunities that could be at different timings, different days, weekends, after work, before work. We've had like activities at 8 o'clock in the morning. We've had something at 4 p.m. post work or post trading hours. So we've been able to create some kind of flexible schedule for people to get out of their desks. But at the end of it, it really is the interest, right? So and we've been really lucky to have that.
Thank you so much. I think, Sharmeen, to summarize, you touched upon two fundamentally key points. One is, of course, a choice, and the second is the flexibility in volunteering. So really appreciate that you're able to even offer opportunities where we are talking about 8 a.m. in the morning or after working hours, and possibly even virtual volunteering, has a role to play in that, which can generate.
Yes, virtual definitely, weekend, yes. There is a hybrid model, I think. COVID has kind of had its own advantages. So now there's a hybrid model wherein you're sitting at your desk and you're mentoring a kid, over the phone, and that could be more ongoing as well and not just a one-time activity. So yeah, I think hybrid also works now.
Yeah, so maybe I'll talk about two things that was a challenge and still a challenge for us on a couple of things. So one is international volunteering. So when I say international, we have about 14,000 employees across the globe. Only 2,000 employees are outside India. And that becomes a challenge because these 2,000 employees are spread across in another 19-20 countries, which means you're spread in each of the cities would be around, let's say 100 to 300 at the max. And coordinating with them is still a big challenge. I could also see some international colleagues here. I'm sorry. Working with international organizations have been really difficult for us to get on the right activity that we want to do or schedule it within the time, because sometimes there will be very short notice for us to organize an activity, and sometimes it is very difficult for the organizations to accommodate us in a very short span of time. So that has been a challenge. We have tried to figure out a way where we are calendarizing the events for our international locations. Like before the start of the year, we set the month, we set the activity for each of these specific cities, and we'll only finalize the date 1 month before, but the activity, everything is finalized in discussion with the local employees there, and we tell them this is the month, this is the theme that we want to do, and this is the activity. If you're fine, then if not, we'll look at an opportunity. So we'll calendarize it. That worked well for us. We tried out with I think you're also working with them, Companies for Good in Dubai, which definitely worked, and we want to replicate it in other cities, other locations this year. So that was one challenge which we tried to overcome, but still is a challenge. The second is, even though we say we have so many of volunteer leaders and supporting, now the challenge is they get too much involved into volunteering, and now we get
impacting business.
So then it doesn't impact the business directly, but yeah, we do get calls from few of the managers and say, hey, this guy is going for volunteering every day, are you calling him? So then that kind of issues are still happening, but that's a good issue to have. At least we are happy to have that.
Music to our ears.
Yeah.
HR problems aside. Yeah.
So I think these are two things that I thought I'll share upon.
So for us, two things. One, at an organizational level, if you look at the business operations, And if you look at the source markets like India, Russia, and China, which are our key three source important markets, the peak season begins in February, ends in July. That's when all your student visas, families who are traveling, that becomes a critical time for the operations. And everybody in the operation side, they end up working long hours, including weekends. So it becomes extremely difficult for us to pull out people on that time. And there's a lot of resistance from the managers to not let their people go out. And on weekends, we feel bad to kind of take them for a volunteering because they've been working so hard, right? Even on Saturdays and Sundays where they have to go and cater to the visa at your doorstep sort of mobile solutions. So what we've done from our end is introduce this volunteering time of policy. Again, like I said, baby steps we've taken. So every employee is allowed to take 4 hours off. So that employee can maybe take 1 hour in a month or take 4 hours in a particular event and activity, just go out. So that is kind of helping, and we will see maybe by the mid of this year, we'll be able to know how much that has helped. On a regional level, yes, logistically, like Harish mentioned, externally, in India we have partners like iVolunteer, we have Give for Companies for Good in Middle East, but sometimes, markets like Africa or Australia, they want to do these kind of activities, but they fall short of people on the ground. They don't know how to do it, like, to take permissions, to who's going to manage the logistics, how do we arrange for a bus, how do we print t-shirts. So that becomes very critical for us because it's not their full-time job. There may be an operations or an HR person who has certain KPIs to adhere to. But then from our end, as a central team, it's our job to provide them the resources where they're able to leverage. So what we do is try and leverage our networks. Maybe, we've done it in the past, Misha,
Yes.
We've used our relationship with iVolunteer to get connected with organizations across these countries wherever there's a need, or try to find out a local partner there who is then able to manage logistics. And then we provide a support from the entire back end of looking at screening, clearing due diligences to paying those partners off. That has helped us.
Thank you so much. While both you and Sharmeen kind of touched upon weekend volunteering, so now I'm going to take some of the questions from the audience, and please do keep them coming. Yeah. So we have Ishita Vora from Reliance Foundation. Ishita? Yeah, there she is. Yeah. So she's asked, her question is, what is people's opinion on weekend volunteering, or should volunteering in company time be encouraged? So what are your thoughts? Should it be sticking to Monday to Friday, only company time, or anytime, every time?
I think it depends on what works for every individual. As we mentioned, it could be hybrid, whether you're not able to go from your desk, you want to contribute during your office hours. Opportunities are there. It's what really is going to work on your calendar and time. In fact, to Ria's point, she mentioned about 4 hours, 2 hours. We have like 2 days that we give towards volunteering, so you can take that time off and go and volunteer. So there are tools where you can be encouraged to take your time and step out of your desk. It's really what works for you and what your interest is.
Just to add to that, Ishita, like Sharmeen just mentioned, it all depends on how much and what is your priority. For example, person like me who has kids, want to be at home on the weekend, so I wouldn't want to go out on Sunday. But at the same time, if you're creating an event or an opportunity for me to bring my children and bring my family in, like a beach cleanup, the kids really enjoy that, I would be happy to come and give that time, right? But from a culture perspective, yes, we do have feedback that we've got from employees that if it's important for the company, then why use weekends of people, which is their personal time, right? They should be allowed to go out and volunteer during the work hours also.
So I agree to what Ria said. Personally, for me also, I think it's important for companies to provide opportunities to volunteer during the working hours, because when the company wants their employees to volunteer, it is important for the company to also give that opportunity to employees. So you can't force employees to come during weekends. So we do have weekend volunteering. It's a group level initiative. It's purely, you only have like 1% of the overall Tata Group employees participating. That is even their family members will also participate. But largely, personally for me, it is weekday volunteering.
Okay. Wonderful. Just to let the audience know that it is up to the corporate's policy, because it's fantastic that Tata allows employees, families also to join in, and it's fantastic. So if you're looking at creating your employee volunteering policy, please do consider that. But I am also aware that for a lot of legal reasons, at times it is not possible. So I think we as organizations need to factor that in as well. There's some fantastic questions coming from the audience, and please do keep them coming. So again, this is one regarding skill-based volunteering, back to all the panel members. So we have Rahul from the audience. I don't have your last name. Oh, great. Hi, Rahul. So Rahul's question is, for long-term skill-based volunteering, are there any specific guardrails to ensure high quality of skills being offered to the NGOs, and at the same time, good quality projects being offered to your volunteers? He's also asked another question. What has been the key feedback from such key skill-based volunteers? So what's their feedback?
Okay, so in terms of the long-term opportunities, I'm sure all of the organizations are, to be frank, are struggling. When I say struggling, it's not 100% impactful. When I say impactful, let's say we have 100 employees volunteering in the long-term opportunity, you will only have 50%. If you have 50%, it's a very good number, but 50% people completing the project. So that becomes a challenge for the NGOs. Because they will have to put the human resource, they will have to work with the volunteers, follow up. That takes very long time. But to ensure this is not happening within the group, there is a group level initiative we have called Pro Engage. I'm sure some of the organizations here would know. Pro Engage is a dedicated skill-based, again, weekend volunteering for employees. Where employees, their family members, even the retired Tata employees can participate. It's open for them. And here it's a structured weekend volunteering that happens. So here there are 3 levels of verification. One, as an employee, I can go to a project and apply. And there will be multiple applications for the same project. So the NGO has the right to choose which person they want to hire. And it's all free. It's all free of cost. So let's say there are about 3-4 employees who are applying for the same project. Their profiles will be shared with their resume and all the necessary details for each of the project. And the organization has a right to select the employee. So then they select the employee, and then the confirmation goes. From there will be an orientation. Then there will be 2 levels of verification. One is the local NGO who is coordinating will do a round of verification and uploading the data. And there is a group level team who will monitor this and also give an update to the organizations. And the third part is we as a CSR team will also do a round of verification with our employees. So there are 3 levels of verification, which will slightly reduce the maybe I will see number of people coming out of the program.
I like that approach where, organizations get to choose, all the NGOs in the house are like, yes, we get to see the profiles and choose. That's really a huge plus point. Plus the fact that there is a range that you offer for them to choose. So that's excellent. There are loads of questions, so unless somebody wants to add, please feel free to do so, or I'll move to the next. Okay. There are some key questions which are fantastic, and I would like to take them towards the end in terms of trends, etc. Just bear with me because I'm reading through a list of questions as well. So Shivani from SAP, she's asking, what are your thoughts on the common practices of providing perks like t-shirts, transportations, and refreshments for your corporate volunteers? Do you believe these offerings are essential for fostering employee engagement in volunteering activities, or do they potentially overshadow the intrinsic motivation to give back?
I think, Shivani, thank you for this question. It works 2 ways, Shivani. One, definitely the corporates, when you're doing an activity, you would want an on-site branding. So the t-shirts and everything just automatically brings that element into that particular activity, right? So if you don't want to do t-shirts, do aprons, which works, because a lot of times I've seen there's the same dilemma that I've faced, right? Do we give t-shirts every time? Does it really make sense for us to add that cost to every event? What do we do? Because once people use a t-shirt, they just go and throw it away, right? For the next event, when people come back, they want a fresh t-shirt. So we started working on aprons, because then you can't throw apron, you can't otherwise use it. It's reusable, and then you don't have to worry about sizes. Other things logistically, like I said, very important, because one, from a volunteer lead, there are a couple of people who are leading that activity, you want to take the burden off them, right? You need to help them. And at the same time, the volunteers, they don't know, how do I reach? We get questions like, will you reimburse us the cost of transportation? If I'm coming on a Saturday from, say, a place like Thane to, Dadar beach for a cleanup, what do you do? So these things are important, and it depends on your budgets, how do you want to kind of build those things in. But yes, so at Disney, What we had done is, if you're doing these of volunteering where we are not providing buses or the group transportation, we had allowed people to kind of claim their transportation expenses back. Yeah.
Harish, would you like to add anything to that?
Sure. I think unfortunately it's a yes. We will have to provide to at least get the required number of volunteers, but I'm not sure how long we'll be able to do it as an organization. But talking about it, it's not necessary to provide t-shirts for each of the event that you do or each of the campaigns that you do. So what we do at Tata Communications is that we provide t-shirts once in a year for a bigger campaign, and they reuse it during the other campaign. So that's the one thing that we do. And transportations, if the location of the activity is above 5 or 10 kilometers, then we provide transportation from office. So they have to come to office to get the transportation. It's basically not a home pickup. So it will be office to the location, location to the office. So that's the kind of transportation that we have been providing. And again, that's a discussion still we are having internally to check if we have to take that out or not. But as of now, I think that creates a buzz because there are a lot of team who want to come out as a team and they want to do volunteering, right? And it's okay if they are just coming for first time to have fun. Once they come experience it, you will at least have 10% of people coming back with their volunteering interest. So I think that's okay to start.
Thank you so much. Also, two very good points. I mean, we also need to think about sustainability. So just giving a t-shirt for every activity also kind of defeats the purpose when we are, harping upon sustainability and environmental issues as well. But I like the point about, maybe having a limit, say 5 to 10 kilometers for the bus or pick up from office and all. Lots of interesting questions, and this is to all panel members. I'll start with you, Sharmeen. This is from Aarti, my colleague over there. Hi, Aarti. How important is employee choice in determining volunteering opportunity? And I would love to ask all the panel members for your views, please. How important is employee choice in determining volunteering opportunities?
I think they have the choice, but there has to be a balance. So we have volunteering champions who drive volunteering for us. So they represent various divisions, functions, and their teams, locations. As I mentioned previously as well, I think the opportunities that you provide also need to be resonating with the staff, and our staff does come up with very creative engagement opportunities. But I think the balance that I was mentioning is that we do all have a compliance process to follow. It cannot be something that's ad hoc or randomly picked up because someone's working somewhere personally at with an NGO and we want to bring them on board. So there's definitely a process to follow. There has to be a non-profit that we've been working with, or if it's interesting, we onboard them, do the necessary due diligence, bring them into our system, and yes, then we are more than welcome for staff to come and design opportunities along with us. But definitely there has to be a balance. There cannot be a conflict of interest. All of those pieces need to be there to weave in these opportunities. So yes, there is enough and more flexibility on that.
Thanks for that. Ria, Harish?
I think I agree to what she said. So employees do get their choice of activity or the thematic area that they want to do. There are already choice, but if they're asking for choice of organization they want to work with, that's a question. So that's something that they'll have to come up with details, share it with the CSR team. We'll have to do the DD and then understand. But otherwise they do have choices. What I think, at least in our organization.
Fair points, both of you. I mean, I completely agree in terms of compliance and sticking to the rule book. But at the same time, the essence of volunteering is volunteering, right? It's my choice. You can't just force people to come and volunteer or participate in events. So for me, it all comes down to voluntary participation. That's the important bit here.
Yeah, thanks, Aarti. Okay, Ria, I'll take this next question starting with you. So this is from Tanya. Hi Tanya. Okay, Tanya would like to know, she would like to understand the nature of employee volunteering experience and interest coming from international locations. I think Tanya is asking that do you have international volunteers volunteering? So she's asking, do they exhibit similar enthusiasm on volunteering as in the India employees? Have I got your question correct, Tanya?
Correct.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I think we are lazy as a race to do volunteering because the labor is so cheap in the country. But outside India, everything, where especially in markets like Europe and US, people are very hands-on. They have these skills. So skill-based, no skills-based, it doesn't matter, right? So there's a lot of volunteering culture embedded into the countries there itself. From a activity perspective, yes, they do come up with a lots of things, and some of these first world countries, they have their own problems. So some of their activities don't even resonate with things like us. So when I joined VFS, we had activities like people would just go randomly to a cat shelter, and I would be like, how is that volunteering? What do you do? But that's what the problems are in those countries. They don't have things like us, the challenges that we do. We just go out of the road and you have maybe 10 activities or 10 challenges that you would want to participate. But they do have those things, and they're very driven, right? So what we did from our aspect is added a third E. So education and environment was there. We added empathy, because a lot of our colleagues there would just go and volunteer in old age homes, spend time with the senior citizens, spend time with children who are abandoned. There are children who are typically in the most refugee driven or migrant communities. There are these things, yeah. So to answer your question, I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but there's a lot of drive that is there in the international market.
I think it's also a very mature market. They have been doing this for many years.
Yeah.
It's also a very new concept in India, but I do see that there is a great amount of enthusiasm even in international colleagues, and again different problems, so that therefore different kind of volunteering opportunities, but yes, it's absolutely there. It's much there.
Harish?
Okay, I'm going to conflict them. So
No, but that's what a fantastic panel is here for. So please go ahead.
At least for us, India has been a great market for volunteering. Be it the employees, how they participate in terms of the enthusiasm that they have. We haven't seen that in the outside India region, at least for us. So I think I'll have to definitely conflict here. But the challenge that we have been seeing is that now what we have been doing, and it's a trick that we have tried to follow. We look at, I'm not sure if I can say this, but we look at Indians who are there in these cities, who are our employees, and see if they can support, and that's how the participation is increasing, because they take the ownership and get. See, the problem that at least I see is that ownership. In India, if you ask our employees to take the ownership, they come back, they come with ownership mindset. But internationally, that's the challenge. For example, I'll give an example where we had to do a volunteering event, and we had sent 2 emails to the colleagues in the international region, and we did send a third email from the CSR ID, and we got because we are based out of India and we don't have other choice. So we got a reply from one of the employees saying that, why are you sending so many emails for volunteering? This is volunteering. So, but that their point is also right. But how do we then I follow up, right? So these are the challenges that we do at least have in within Tata Communications.
Also a little bit about culture dynamics within different countries, different office. Have you worked?
So in India, if I say Tata ethics, Tata work, it'll at least relate to the it'll relate to my employees here. Yeah. But internationally, it doesn't work, right? If you say Tata values, Tata ethics, it doesn't sound great for them. So.
Interesting and very nice. I'm happy to have contradictory views. That's what makes a good panel. I've got some fantastic questions here from Karthik Vaidya, who is also the co-founder of Team Everest. Karthik? Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. Karthik, I'm going to take the liberty to club your questions. Yeah? Okay. So Karthik's one question, and this is for all my panel. He wants to ask, what is your #1 challenge or headache, as Karthik puts it, when it comes to employee volunteering in your organization? That's his first question, and he has mentioned this is for all panelists. Okay, and the second question Karthik asks, so this is, the first one is a challenge when it comes to your employee volunteering, and the second one he is asking on behalf of the non-profits. Tell me one irritating thing that non-profits do which you think should be changed.
Okay, so I'll start with the first one. Currently for us, being at this scale, the most irritating thing or the challenging thing is that even the senior leaders are in the organization for a very long time, so 3-4 years. So then thinking about a new activity, getting in new addition to it is a challenge, because I can't go up with the same activity even though you do, let's say, school painting. You add more elements to it, but at the end of the day, it's school painting. So the kind of activity that we have, at least within the Tata Communications, we have done it for more than like 10, 15 times, 20 times. So our employees have seen it. So now they're asking us what's new. So when I go with a new campaign, we come up with new names instead of new activity. So that's
We package it differently.
so that's the challenge I think that we have. And for NGOs, I think I haven't had a lot of issues again with Indian-based NGOs. I have always had a great support from the organizations in India. But maybe one thing that I could suggest that you could avoid is saying yes for everything. So you could say no if you're not able to do. It's okay to come back and say no, we can't do this. What happens is sometimes NGOs think that if they say no, then what would CSR think? Or what would the CSR person think? That's okay, so they will understand. Most of them have come from the NGO background or from the development sector background, so I'm sure they will understand it. So that's okay to say no. So maybe that could be my point here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very key thing that we often say that yes, and very valid reason that we as NGOs do worry that would that impact any of the funds and the future work. But I would love to hear from the rest of the panel.
So Karthik, for us, we starting with the unique number of employees. So right now we've just started to look at the number of people who are volunteering, and we want to see at least coming to maybe 40% by the end of this year, to see that 40% of our employee base is volunteering. So that's my start point. From a partner perspective, no challenges, honestly, because we don't believe in partnering with a lot of NGOs. We want to limit our partnership and then work deeply with them. So we work with our CSR partners on a number of engagement levels. That includes volunteering as well.
I think for me it's going to be an upcoming challenge is budgets to provide for these opportunities. To your question on t-shirts, logistics, it is a great enabler, but it cannot be a deal breaker wherein if logistics is not involved or is not provided, one doesn't show up, and that needs to also be a different kind of a balance that we need to figure out. And given the constraints with respect to this huge CSR budget we have, it's a great opportunity, but also there are so many restrictions around that on what we can do with respect to engagement. The challenge we have with respect to non-profits is I think as organizations where we are facilitating employee engagement and having our staff go, a question for me lies is what is the impact we are creating for the non-profits? Are they able to come back and tell us this is what was the impact because of a mentoring program or because of a school refurbishment, because tomorrow we're going painting a school. What happens post that after a couple of years? So I think impact is now going to be important, wherein yes, measuring our side of impact, where how many staff is going, how many volunteering hours are being contributed, that's definitely an impact in the organization. But what about the non-profits, and are they able to measure this impact? And that's going to be, I think, the next step for us, is what my understanding would be.
Perfect. In fact, that's my second question. But Priya, if you want to add to anything further on this, or I'll move to my next.
Yes,
I think
please,
you would like to. So, Sharmeen, you spoke about monitoring and evaluation, and there are a couple of questions on this, which are, in the interest of time, I'm going to club some of this. So we have Dia from Mentor Together, who has asked us a question, that how do you provide any support to partner organizations in measuring the impact of their volunteering, which your employees are part of? And if there is support, then this can even enable them to do more. So there are a couple of other questions as well, which are all related to monitoring and impact assessment. One for your own employees, and second to the support for your service users.
So as I mentioned, I think currently what we are monitoring is the number of staff that are showing up for volunteering activities, the number of volunteering hours we are putting in an organization, the quality of the volunteering opportunities that we are providing. Is it skill-based, is it hands-on? And then I think the outcome, which is post the volunteering, how are we impacting the non-profits, is something, the softer aspects is definitely something that needs to get more mature and evolved. Yes, we can go and say we've we've planted 6,000 saplings. If we are doing a tree plantation, if we are collecting 40,000 kgs of marine garbage on a particular day, that's impact for sure as well. But the softer aspects like going and teaching a kid, doing a reading class for 2 hours, what is the long-term impact and how can we engage further on that is definitely going to be the next step of monitoring and evaluation, which we would need to partner with our non-profits for. I think this is going to definitely be another key program that we mentioned, which was the senior directors, capacity build for our non-profits. That's definitely another tangible program wherein we create a policy document for our non-profits, create their monetary evaluation, a tool for them, a finance strategy for them, building out their fundraising strategy. Those are tangible programs that we are able to say this is what the impact has been. So, but definitely I think it needs to go to the next level of monitoring for us.
So for us, when you talk about impact, it's going to be 2 ways. One is definitely what Sharmeen just mentioned in terms of what our employees bring in, which is your typical way of monitoring the number of employees who go out, the time that they put in, and then the impact of that particular activity. For if it's a school painting, it's immediately you see that thing change, right? But what does it mean to the children who are going back to the school? That is something that we lack. We don't hear that from the partner who's doing or implementing that particular activity. For example, when we plant trees, or you planted maybe 3,000 saplings, for example, will it just restrict to the number of saplings that are planted, or can it go to the next level of saying this is the O2 which is sequestered? This is going to help offset this particular range of carbon in that particular area. How does that benefit? Is something that we are looking at, and that should come from the non-profit, because we are always short on resources. Looking at these many markets, it's beyond us to kind of even get into that level. So it will be nice for the NGOs or for our partners who's implementing that activity to bring in these kind of metrics.
Thank you so much, Harish.
For us, apart from what they all said, additional 2 things. One is that for NGOs specifically, what we do is not the impact bit, but to look at how do we choose NGOs for the next campaign. Within the Good Era, we work with Good Era closely. So within the Good Era portal, we have ratings for each of the NGOs. Okay. So like how you go on Amazon and then find the product. So similarly, you have ratings for each of the NGOs. So these have been done by the employees after each of the activities that they've been part of. So both are covered. So one is the rating of each of the NGOs, and the feedback separately is covered. But what we are now trying to do is, this is something which we want to explore and see. We are not sure how it will work, but we want to create a circle. When I say circle, so if we are taking a school, then we do everything in that school. For example, we do this painting, we do bench making, we do tree plantation, everything in this school, and then come out of that school and then move to the next location. Instead of doing multiple things in multiple location, we wanted to try this out this year and see how it works. So because now we are randomly taking out only the numbers of these trees planted, or these are just the numbers that we just, maybe to be frank, to showcase on the social media or to the management. But if you have to go to the deeper impact, then one school at a time or one location at a time will work.
Great. Thank you all for sharing that. At iVolunteer, we are working on that. We are looking at more of a qualitative assessment of the work that we are doing with our partners, all the different partners. How did that employee volunteering make them feel? How was that activity for them? Has anything changed? These are some things that we are looking at, and we plan to kind of implement with all of you also. In the interest of time, this is going to be my last question. Again, this is a very interesting question, and it is for all the panel members. I'm really sorry to all of you over here whose question I have not been able to take today, but our panel members are going to be there for some more time later on, so maybe over a cup of tea you can ask them, if that's fine with you, Sharmeen, but I think you are there till the end of the evening as well. Okay. So this question again is from Shivani. Shivani from SAP would like to know, how do you identify volunteering? What future trends do you anticipate in corporate volunteering, and how are you preparing to align your strategies with these trends? So what are the future trends in terms of corporate volunteering within India?
Technology playing a very key role into that particular thing. It's not just from providing solutions to your volunteers or maybe giving them the opportunities to volunteer from the desk, but it's also from the back end in terms of getting analytics out of it, right? Because right now, if you look at our team, we do it all manually. We don't have a system in place. But I do know that Harish has a system which gives him a specific analytics at any given point in time. So yes, technology is going to drive a lot. And then how do you leverage the energy of the millennials is going to be something that you will have to work with.
Thank you.
I think for us, again, it's the gamification is what we are looking at, because now we have reached to a point where employees have been volunteering. That has been something which we are able to crack. But how do we ensure that one-time employee becomes a long-term long-term volunteer, and how do the long-term volunteer go to the next step? So that's the maybe the strategy for FY25.
Brilliant. Very nice word that you used as well in terms of gamification of volunteering and key steps on, a one-time volunteer to become a regular to championing. Sharmeen from UBS, what were your...
I think in terms of more long-term volunteering, a lot of organizations now are working with the governments to make systemic changes, entering districts and working much larger. So how can we enable this initiative for them? I think that's important. So one is definitely catering to the one-time, short-term, hands-on volunteering, which is great in terms of team building activity, but how do we also create opportunities which is more value added for them, enabling them to go to the next level of where they already are at is what I think.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And also the use of AI. I think that has also been kind of the buzzword over the last 2 days as well. AI and volunteering and millennials and Gen Z, and how do we work with all of these trends? Thank you all so much to our panel for your time. To the audience, you can see that the QR code at the back has changed. You can share your feedback with us. For those questions that I was unable to take today, I do apologize, but I would really like to encourage you that all our 3 panel members will be there outside later on, and you can please do catch up with them individually. And as a token of our appreciation and thank you so much for your time, we would like to...